Yeah.
Hey, hey, hey.
Hey, hey,
Hey, hey, hey!
Welcome to your happy place on Mondays, people.
Good
Welcome
morning.
back, you two of my favourite people in the crypto space. Lisa, who's going to talk us through the charts in a moment. Dee Dee,
hey. I'm
who's
not.
now
I'm
become
just here to look pretty.
the king of the headlines, Dee Dee. The king of the headlines. 4,000% gains. 40% drops. And the absolute classic this weekend, the Copenhagen Bitcoin Challenge. My balls and her face still hurt. That has to be the winner.
Oh shit! Now that you say it, I love that headline. You know, that video was not even watched that many times, but yeah, my balls still hurt.
You're gonna have to go and watch that video, people. Nothing to do with crypto. It's a nice family outing at a water park, but definitely the winner of best headline of the week, Dee Dee.
It all has to do with balls and faces, man. It all has to do with balls and faces. And if you have iron balls,
I'm hoping it's like a bouncy ball. I'm hoping it's a bouncy ball and not teabagging.
No, I'm afraid, Lisa, it's not. You're going to have to watch the video.
Oh my god!
But
yeah, like I said,
here's a clip of that, by the way. Dee Dee, you can talk us through it.
Yeah. So I'm in this clip. I am showing that if you have iron balls to go all in, it will hurt on your face.
I have no idea what you guys are talking about.
That's the challenge, Copenhagen.
Oh my goodness!
It's very amusing. It had me in hysterics this weekend. So how's the week been? Should we jump straight into some charts, Lisa, and we'll have a bit of a chat on life and love and everything else afterwards.
Have you allowed me to share the charts this week?
I think I have. I think I might be getting the hang of this stuff.
Amazing. Let's go straight into a Bitcoin chart. Woo! Okay, yeah. So Dow Jones, S&P, all of those horrible markets.
It's not a market. It's not a market anymore.
It's not really a market. It's just, I don't know. I don't even know what it is. It's just something that the Americans print money and they keep buying their own stuff. But anyway, it's a little bit like Tether. So right now in BTC, we're dropping because of that. But we haven't broken the low yet. So we're looking here. So if we break this low, we've got sort of about, maybe about 100-ish. If we break that, then we're going into a different pattern. Right now, I still think we're in the same pattern. We should hang around that sort of, that pivot here that we've got, this first support, and we should head back up and retest this all-time high resistance, which is, proving to be this massively difficult thing that we just can't break at the moment. So there's not enough volume, there's not enough buyers in the market, and, we just keep printing Tether, coming back down, printing Tether, coming back down. So essentially whales are, trapping these breakout traders or breakout traders. I know there's lots of them. I've seen them on Twitter. I'm not laughing at you, but it's like, yeah. So we should sort of hear about the 9,600, 9,700 mark on Bitcoin before we have another drop, which will probably take us down to this bullish pivot, which is about 8,422 on this chart. It sort of varies a little bit on other charts. This is a Bitfinex chart right now. Yeah, so Bitfinex tends to work within the algorithms perfectly. So that's why I tend to sort of look at this chart rather than other ones. BitMEX charts always have really long wicks because of the liquidations and the way that the trading engine works on BitMEX. It just is a little bit more extreme, and the wicks are a little bit more extreme. So you can make, if you allow for those, you can make a little bit more profit, but you don't need to always buy the tops. You don't always need to sell the bottoms, or other way around. So yeah, so same for if we go to Bitcoin dominance chart. Let me have a look at this. So the reason I still think Bitcoin is still going up is because we are holding this channel support on the dominance chart. So right here we can see it's green again today. So we should, for this next bounce, we should come up, we should retest this resistance again, and then come back down to this channel support. And then once we've retested that channel support, which should take us down to that 8,400 pivot, then that's when we should be taking off. So when we should be able to break that resistance at that point. So we can see that it's all sort of moving in unison, you know, provided it keeps moving that way. And we don't do something extreme like, you know, Donald Trump doesn't retweet his own tweets and talk to himself like he did on the weekend. And it was like it was a different person. So it's like, Donald Trump, you're doing great. Thank you. Yeah, so yeah, as long as these supports hold and they continue to hold, then all of these patterns are looking great. So if we have a look at the total market cap, we are currently testing across support. So if this does break, it's, you know, it's probably not an ideal thing. And, you know, we've got a lot of free space in this region to come down. So that could drag the market down a little bit more than what it has been. But it could also, this is a total market cap. So if you think about that, when BTC starts to drop, a lot of people pull their money out of all the alts. So total market cap can quite substantially drop without, you know, all of the markets sort of dropping as well. So, you know, BTC can hold pattern if the total market chart does drop, because it's, you know, that's including alts and it's including everything else, because the BTC dominance chart is holding. So, you know, that's kind of what we have to look at the moment. So Ethereum is holding pattern. So when I kind of look at what Bitcoin's doing and I look at sort of all the overall charts, I look to see, you know, if they're holding pattern, if they're breaking pattern, you know, what directions we're going. And by looking at several charts on several different time frames, I can sort of assess whether Bitcoin's going to hold certain levels or whether it's going to move, you know, out of pattern or not. So right now, I think we're holding pattern. I think we're going to push right up to that long-term resistance again, and then have another drop, a 2,000, you know, probably a 2,000 to 3,000 drop. So yeah, that's pretty much how the markets are looking. But if we have a look, you know, in relation to what I like to call, everyone calls crypto like a manipulated market, but you know, when you think about it, DJI, most manipulated market in the world at the moment. So, you know, with Federal Reserves just printing money so that they can support the market. So we've got this resistance. So this resistance here, we've tested it, we've come back up, we've retested it, we're still dropping. So, you know, I kind of believe we could see another retest. They're still printing money at the moment. I don't see it breaking. I do see a greater drop, and the greater drop's going to come sort of with that second wave of the COVID, which is going to happen. So, you know, you can't be sort of locking everyone up and saying that, you know, I know a lot of people say that it's just a flu and it doesn't exist and it's, you know, crazy, but like, who knows if it is or it isn't? And, you know, with all the people that are sort of getting out, protesting and all of that, then, you know, it has to have another spike. And I saw on Twitter, there was a chart saying that COVID cases is actually looking bullish. So, you know, it was in a bull flag and it was coming down, and then it had broken. So I might find that tweet and I'll retweet it. So it was really interesting.
I think the reality is whether the virus is real or not, we'll see a second wave.
Yeah, exactly. So it's a way of, you know, controlling public and doing all of that stuff if you want to believe that side of the argument. So, you know, there's different arguments as to whether it's a real virus or whether it's just public control.
Yeah.
So, yeah, and who knows? I still can't get on a flight, so.
Oh, tell me about it. Tell me about it. The only joy I have is watching Dee Dee's beach videos every day.
I'm jealous of Dee Dee's beach videos. I need to watch more clearly.
I don't even know what you're talking about. I don't even know what COVID is. What is it?
Yeah.
Oh yeah,
exactly.
let's not get deep started on that one.
Yeah, so then, you know, the S&P is moving exactly how it should as well. So this is a thing that sort of says to me that we possibly will get this second wave of COVID or something major is going to happen in the US. So because we've again hit this resistance, this upper resistance, and yeah, we should get a bounce on this S&P at around this level here, come up, and then we'll come back down. So we could have a second and a third wave, you know, just in pattern here. And it's a very, very gappy chart. So I talk often about gaps on Twitter, and, you know, gaps always need to be filled at some point. So, you know, and that just means that the pattern will go up or down to fill these gaps. So, yeah, whichever way we look at it, the US charts look like they're coming down. I don't think they can go up forever, even though they are printing money. The Treasury over there is printing money. So, you know, it's a whole global sort of problem here, because if this drops, and, you know, often it takes crypto with it, sometimes it doesn't. I saw one of my followers actually gave me some dates that the DJI had correlated with Bitcoin. But there are other dates within Bitcoin that it hasn't correlated with it. So the big drop that we saw on the S&P and the DJI didn't actually affect crypto until a couple of weeks later. So, yeah, so I kind of think if we're going to see this drop in Bitcoin, it's not going to be, you know, this massive drop that everyone's saying. So a lot of the riots and the rallies, there's a lot of people talking about Bitcoin and managing your own money and, you know, being financially secure. So I think that's all going to start sort of coming into the market as well.
Yeah. It's the $1 trillion question, isn't it, really? I mean, I personally think it will track downwards with those markets when they invariably do crash, but I fully expect it to decouple. I mean, you've only got to look at the amount of macro investors that are coming into crypto now. It is really significant. In fact, I did a show the other day on the Fidelity report. It clearly shows that. So yeah, I mean that's fantastic analysis, Lisa. Have you got what are your thoughts on that $1 trillion question?
Well, I kind of think at some point in the near future. So I think once we get to that sort of bullish pivot, so I do think we've got one more bounce up. We're going to correct, you know, sort of from that, you know, it could go as high as 10,700, and that's still within this pattern. We could reverse at 9,700. So, you know, we've got that sort of moving point at the moment with the rising pattern, and then coming down, I think we're going to hold that bullish pivot, which is 8,400-ish. And, you know, at that point, I think that's when we kind of decouple from the major markets and we start moving forward with Bitcoin. So, you know, I think that's going to take maybe, you know, this correction. We're still in this sort of majorly large correction at the moment that's sort of, you know, very, very sideways, and, you know, it's hard to chart because it's quite corrective. But the larger pattern that I'm talking about when we zoom out shows us decoupling if we can hold that bullish pivot. And I think, you know, from what I've talked about over the last couple of weeks, exchanges are really going to be looking at that point, because the long-term health of crypto needs to have, you know, a sort of a point where it does decouple and does move away from the major markets. And that way it brings light to this world that, you know, this is a viable product, and, you know, if you trade it, you can make money. If you hold it, you know, you have your own financial security. So if, you know, the banks and everything that, you know, are predominantly owned by about 8 people worldwide, central banks. So they're not government. So if you do the research,
8 members of the Rothschild family.
Pretty much. So, you know, you start doing some research on how they all work, and it's like, you know, Bitcoin and cryptocurrency is a good way of managing your own money and taking it away from these people that, you know, do manipulate the world. So it's a really good thing. So if we look at gold as well, and, you know, it's hitting a pattern here as well, where I think it's no longer going to be a store of value. And I think that's going to start coming down as well. So all of this money needs to go somewhere. So it doesn't ever just disappear. So, you know, it's
You're not a gold bug,
cycle.
Lisa, obviously.
Sorry?
You're not a believer in gold as the
No,
story.
I'm not. I don't. I think it's going to go into silver, actually. So this is
right.
I think it's coming out of gold, it's going into silver. I think gold's in a longer term correction. So silver here, we have the start of a bull flag forming.
Yep.
We've hit a resistance, and I think there's a lot of money that's about to go into silver. So yeah, so I think that's going to start pulling out of gold. Gold's just not moving at the moment, and, you know, silver's going to start moving. And, you know, these charts don't move like crypto. So when I say they're going to start moving, it could take 2 years. So it's not like, you know, we're going to make, you know, 30 to 40% gains in a day on silver or on gold or anything like that. It just doesn't move that well.
Yeah,
So,
I mean, it's amazing though how many of the hedge funds, the big macro investors, are really, you know, trumpeting silver, gold, and Bitcoin. I mean, the world is a strange place right now.
It is. It's like, but, you know, when you're sort of investing on the gold futures or, you know, the charts online, you don't actually own a gold bar.
Yeah.
It's like, I can understand if you're putting a gold bar in your, you know, your safe or something at home, but when you're trading this, you may as well be trading something that moves, and crypto moves.
Yeah.
You know, in high percentages. It's like, obviously, if you don't know how to trade it, you're going to lose high percentages as well. So yeah, that's why I always encourage people to start to learn how to use, you know, to trade, and to, you know how and where to place your orders and your sell orders. And, you know, again, you don't have to sell the tops, and you don't have to buy the bottoms to make profit.
Yeah. Lisa, I wanted to ask you, next week it would be great to do a bit of an education session on all the other derivative markets. You know, we're seeing so many of these big players come into crypto now, and I think the products out there are only going to get bigger. I hope it doesn't mirror the traditional markets we've seen, what that's caused. But really, I'd love to better understand, you know, how the futures work, how the CME works, etc. Your analysis is, as my knowledge is going like this at the moment. I'm following you daily on Twitter. Encourage everyone else to do that. But, you know, that sort of next step in my evolution to be able to trade properly is to have a look at, you know, how all those other markets operate. I'm still a bit iffy on that. So next week, that'll be fantastic if we could.
Definitely. So I really think you need to know everything, how crypto moves. So it's not just, you know, your mums and dads that are sitting there, or your everyday day traders that are sitting there. So crypto has a larger, you know, because it is such a small market, it's able to be moved by whales and by people with substantial amounts of Bitcoin or, you know, Tether. And so I think, I'll come on next week and I'll have all of that explained. It'll all be revealed.
Looking forward to that. That's somewhat of a missing piece of my trading jigsaw before I do get back in. Dee, I can tell you're itching to ask some questions.
He's not listening. He's got hodl on it.
Hodl, you know, it's like hodl. It's also to be or not to be hodl. You know, maybe I can share my screen just 1 second to show you something that I would like to show to your beautiful followers all over the world, Sean. And let's see.
They actually follow Lisa on the show, not me, mate. I'll just post it.
They follow both of you handsome guys and girls.
They follow your handsome face.
Yeah, look, it's always about this. You need to zoom out in Bitcoin. You need to zoom in life, because we can still stress every day. And it's lovely that we are chatting about these crashes and 40% and 30% and 50% and 2000%. You know, they all are nothing in comparison to the crash we just saw to the Lebanese dollar, to the Lebanese pound. That one crash.
100%.
You know, even more, Sean, you know, they needed to pay. They started paying, I think for decades long, you paid 1,500 Lebanese pound for $1. At the beginning of this week, in the beginning of this week, it was 4,000 Lebanese pounds for $1, and now it's 7,000 pounds, Lebanese pounds for $1. So their money is having a huge kind of inflation. But if it comes to crypto, I saw this chart this week, and I really like this chart because why? This gives me this peace of mind to see all these amazingly beautiful crashes of like 38%, 44%, 50%, 70%, 50%, and still we are all going up. So this is what I want to show the people, because yes, if you zoom into a small part of the chart, like to this part, you could see a huge crash of 40%. But in the end, guys, if you zoom out, you can see that we still grow. And if you start here and you end here, we had many crashes. It doesn't mean, you know, that they will do anything to the long-term investment into Bitcoin. So that is the only thing I want to share, because I think the TA of Lisa covers every other thing of Bitcoin and all the other things.
Yeah, no, I definitely agree. So if you zoom out and you go on to, I think it's a log chart, Magic Poop Cannon, I'll get Sean to put it in the clip here. So actually has a log chart that he has, and it shows the movement of Bitcoin, and it's hit perfectly on the curves on that chart. So yeah. The overall long-term health of Bitcoin right now, and I know there's, you know, a whole group of people that want it to die, but I don't think it is. I don't think, you know, you kill Bitcoin, you kill crypto, and it's not going to happen right now.
Too many institutional investors are getting into it. And if it comes to the Bitcoin chart, I'm always playing with this thing. I'm looking at the order book, and I think I saw that now in the Bitfinex chart you showed, the order book is like I think there are about 6,200 Bitcoins in the order book being bought between 8,700 and 9,400-ish.
Yeah.
And if you look at the sell orders, it's only like 2,400 Bitcoins between 9,400 and 10K. So I'm still getting my head around how this works, because there's so many people, you know, are ordering the Bitcoins at that level. And so, and not that many people selling from the point of 9,400 upwards. What does this do to the price? That's what I'm looking at the moment a little bit, educating myself.
Yeah, well, it essentially means that, you know, if you've got the bulk of the orders that are sort of in those levels, and they're corresponding levels to what I talk about, then that means that those, when we do drop, when we do have a whale decides to come in and they're like, I'm just going to sell down, there's enough support in those regions that we hold those regions. And like I said, that 8,400 mark is really critical to hold that point so that we do see the higher highs. So we do head up to the 15,000s, the 21,000s. And, you know, I really do believe if that bullish pivot holds, those, you know, higher regions are really possible this year and next. So yeah, really good time to start buying some Bitcoin. Even if you just, you know, you're a hodler and you've got a spare $5, $10, you know, $20 every week, buy a little bit of Bitcoin and, you know, hodl away. And yeah, so I think long term, it's going to be a really good investment.
Agree, and so do a huge amount of institutions. Fidelity put out a 23-page report earlier this week. I'll just actually quickly screen share that before we wrap up. Where are we? So, you know, some key takeaways from this. Obviously, the percentage growth that we saw year on year was quite significant, but what really shocked me was overall 36 of institutional investors are currently in digital assets. And if you compare, well, actually, if European versus US, it's even higher. It was just under 50% of European.
Fidelity, one of the bigger institutions that have, they came strongly into crypto last year. So, and they've continued to move forward with, supporting new, sort of projects and supporting projects on some of the coins. So they're a big supporter of like all these new assets and all of the cryptocurrency as a whole. So it's really exciting. So not just Fidelity, there's, obviously we've talked about, Grayscale, and we've talked about others, but Fidelity is one of the biggest players here. And I think,
I think they're number 2 in the world for assets under management. So that's a massive firm. That was 800 different institutions that they surveyed for those results as well. But remember, people, not your keys, not your Bitcoin, and that kind of is the difference here with these institutional plays. I hope that doesn't get lost on people. It may moving forward. It's not that difficult to look after.
And please also remind the people too that I read this beautiful article, and then I will shut up again, about Coinbase. Coinbase is now giving away all the data to the IRS. And
well, there you go. Yeah,
so
exactly.
Don't buy your Bitcoins at Coinbase. And I think the community already showed, I think they withdrew more than 22,000 Bitcoins out of Coinbase after they announced it. This is also not your keys in Coinbase, guys. It's just providing the tax companies of your data. So
look, it's a funny thing because coming into the space roughly sort of 4 or 5 years ago, wrapping your head around those concepts it all seemed a bit far fetched. The global economy is going to implode. Bitcoin, you have to be in control of it. So that first time in history that it's an asset you truly control. Bang, here we are. It's happened. And most people don't realize that when you deposit your fiat currency in a bank. When we say fiat, that's your local currency for anyone that doesn't know that term. Legally, it's not actually yours when it goes into that situation. So, this is the time to be careful. And I think this is why we're seeing so many of these macro people come into the space. It's obviously a hedge play for them. Now is the time. If you're not in Bitcoin, this is where you really want to start learning about it. Follow Dee Dee's channel. Definitely follow Elisa on Twitter on the daily for chart action when you start trading, and also for general advice, Lisa. You're fantastic on that front too. Have you actually got your website up and running?
Almost.
I
need to actually have some time to get to it, but it's getting closer.
Okay, go to hardforking.com then. There's 4 years of information about how to procure Bitcoin, how to look after it, and why you might want to have it. So interesting times, isn't it, people?
Exciting times.
It's exciting. It's really exciting because, the world economy changes every sort of 40 years or so. And I think, this is it.
This is it.
Yeah.
Yeah, and I think the backup currency is also changing every 100 years about. So maybe the dollar will lose its crown being this international currency also, because I think we are at the 112th year now in the dollar.
We are, we are. So it's a point where everything's going to change.
Yeah. Well, I mean, the US dollar in its current form, we talk about Bitcoin being a new, or crypto in general being a new industry of 10, 11 years. But the US dollar in its current form, we got to remember, it's actually only 50 years old. Since it left the gold standard. Before that it was actually silver. We were talking about silver before. There was real silver in the coins. I think people need to, as you say, Dee Dee, take that step back and look at a bigger picture. And when you do, you will find that Bitcoin and crypto don't become this magic internet money that's all of, for the crazies. It's not
that's
about...
the thing. So if Bitcoin and crypto are magic internet money, when is the last time that you haven't used an FPOS card and you've actually had cash? And it's like, with COVID in Australia, no one actually takes cash. So, what's the difference to, having a wallet and, using a QR code to pay for it, or an FPOS card? And Yeah,
I mean, you raise cash there, Lisa. That's also another key thing that, for me, crypto offers a clear use case. We talk about you know, the unconfiscatable nature of it. You know, it's permissionless. The thing with what we're seeing with cash being removed, you know, we're probably going to end up in a scenario where every transaction that you make is traceable. The ramifications of that are very Orwellian. The next best thing is going to be crypto once cash disappears, if you know, for you to retain any self-sovereignty. So look, it is another reason for people to really look into this properly, understand that use case also.
Well, it is, and it's like last night I went out to dinner, and you have to leave details in Australia, so basically they can trace you. And it's like, so you've got to leave name, phone number, email, all of that. So, you know, obviously, you know, they're saying it's for COVID. I don't know if that's, you know, COVID's a real thing or not. You know, many people are saying it is. It could be just an extreme flu. I'm sort of on the fence with it. But, yeah, but having to leave all your details and then they can trace and they can do all of this, it's, you know, Big Brother is really watching you at the moment. So, yeah.
Go away,
Big
Big Brother.
For me is a way of just, yeah.
It also shows how retarded they are, that they also believe the people filling in the correct details, because I've never, you know, if you would fill in Lisa or Sean Edwards and you fill in a fake phone number in this list,
yeah, how are they
won't
going to
control
know?
it, you know, it's like,
Yeah.
it's stupid. It's like useless. It's terrible that they don't use a blockchain.
Yeah.
Yes. Well, I actually think I'm the most one of the most quarantined people on the planet now. It's 4.5 months.
You can see it.
Yeah, it's showing. It's showing on his face, the stress. See, Didi and I are smiling. You're sitting there all stressed.
Yeah. And we are both a little bit tan. You look like a little tannish.
I've actually started working out. I lift cat litter, bags of cat litter that I'm training with every day for the last month. I'm gonna emerge from the COVID lockdown the fittest man on the planet. My cat litter workout. Look at these guns. It's all from cat litter.
Yeah. You should go to the Copenhagen challenge.
Didi, I'll put the link below to that video. It absolutely had me in hysterics. I love your content. So, for everyone watching, if you know, Didi is full of wonderful advice and some really, really entertaining content as well. So, make sure you subscribe to his channel, and you can find Lisa on Twitter on the daily. Excellent analysis today, Lisa. Really enjoyed that. That was great.
Thank you.
I know what I'm doing. Nearly.
Awesome. Everyone needs to watch that BTC dominance chart, because if that breaks down, BTC breaks down. So, yeah. Good.
Okay. Well, short and sweet. So thank you so much for your time again, guys. You put a big smile on my face to rip into the week. So we'll see you both next Monday.
Bye.
Thank you, guys. Bye-bye.
Thanks, guys.
Thank you.
Whoops. I'm still recording.
Hey, hey, hey.
Hey, hey, hey.